Ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, it's Scott Hammond with 100% Humboldt with my new best friend, John Hauser. Hi, John.
Hi. Hi, Scott.
How's it going?
Good.
John, who are you? What do you do? What do you want?
Well, according to a Christmas card I just got mailed, it was addressed to everyone's favorite archivist.
Ah,
And so I'm a digital media archivist,
nice.
and I wound up doing that while I was working with Access Humboldt.
Mm-hmm.
I retired from Access Humboldt about 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still doing it because, as we say, that video is not going to archive itself.
Right. And do what you love. It sounds like you love it. Yeah. So you worked with Sean for all the way through when you were back at Eureka High School?
I met Sean when he was here to interview for the Post in 2006 at a Redwood Technology meeting.
And I worked in the advertising division of Settlelink when they enact with the Cox sisters. Actually, it was Cox Cable.
Sure.
And they got granted the whatever that is, those channels.
Yeah.
The bandwidth.
Right.
Yeah. That agreement has some name, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That predates everybody. So
Right.
let's talk about Access Humboldt real quick. So what is it and how do you fit in? And then we'll talk about the archive.
Yeah. It's a nonprofit media organization, and their role is to they do a couple things. One of them is they broadcast the government meetings.
Mm-hmm.
They have a contract with 7 jurisdictions, and so they wind up broadcasting the government meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a public access part of it, which is the local media makers come to they have an idea. They come to Access Humboldt. They can access the tools and the training in order to make their idea a TV show, a reality.
Yeah.
And this started out as TV, and particularly cable TV.
Sure.
We have a low power FM station. You've had Matt King on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Matt Knight on the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt. Shout out.
Hey, Sean.
Right. Yep.
Hey, Nat. Nate. Is he Nate or Nat?
Nate.
Nate Dog.
Nate Dog. Yep. Nate Dog. Yep.
Yep. Got the tour. It's so cool. So you guys were at Eureka High for a long time, and now,
Yes.
now you're in the old CR admin building, which is
Exactly.
quite spacious, right?
Oh, yeah. It's
all that old wood too. It's cool.
Yep. Yeah. One of our employees actually worked in that building when she was a work study student at CR.
Oh, that's fun.
So it's back to the same building 20 years
back
later.
to my old desk. Again.
Right.
Yeah. It's really impressive. So we've had Ray on the show, Ray Olson, and of course Matt. And it's so cool to see people create content that's localized, and some of it's is okay, and a lot of it's great.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's really refreshing to see, the public access. The typical idea of public access is Wayne's World. It's guys in the basement making a local access show that nobody watches and nobody cares about.
Hey, don't say that.
But it's local. But it's
Probably the biggest access show ever.
But it's local voices. And in the old days, when your cable system was just local, it was a local audience.
Right.
And then the internet came along, and one of the things that I've done as I archive this on the Internet Archive, I talk to the producers and I say, hey, it's a local voice, but now you've got a global audience.
Right.
And so how about you up the production quality?
Yeah.
How about you wind up considering people that might not know what the local acronyms mean? But it
maybe spend a little bit of money and have some good whatever added.
And sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes you can use the professional equipment at Access Humboldt to up instead of just doing it yourself.
Sure, having to go buy it.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really something that I enjoy participating in, and I wound up getting involved because when I first got here to Humboldt in 2004, there was no public Wi-Fi at the main branch of the library.
Really?
And I was used to that. Well, the reason why was because the entire Humboldt County was backhauled over a microwave link. There was no fiber. This was 2 years before fiber came up 101.
Right.
And so the Redwood Technology Consortium, you might have remembered that.
Sure.
Their goal was to get fiber in.
Was that Goldberg?
Larry Goldberg.
Hey, Larry.
Don Wolski, Chris Crawford, Tina Narrett, a bunch of people who are either past or…
Kind of pioneers, really, in a way.
Yeah.
Then we got the redundant fiber over to Red Bluff,
Exactly.
right?
So once we get one, then their focus shifted to the other
So when I worked for Suddenlink and the fiber would get chopped by some yahoo
Oh,
and
exactly.
a backhoe and Willits.
Yeah, or a windstorm or the fire in Willits.
Oh.
We had that one year when we
Right.
had 6 outages or 8-hour outages in a single year.
Terrible. No
Yeah.
cable. The whole thing shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful. The olden days.
Yeah.
Not all the olden days were that great.
So in that original agreement with Cox Cable, we had fiber going to 21 different sites around the county, anchor institutions like City Hall, the county board of soups, the library, main branch library. Arcata, yeah, absolutely. Arcata Library, Access Humboldt. And as a matter of fact, Access Humboldt started in the Judo Hut, which is the backside of
the ballpark there.
Exactly, yeah.
Arcata Ballpark.
And that's where I met Jerusha and Jesse the first time.
Oh, that's funny.
I went up there.
Small world. Hey, this is where I use my prop real quick.
Okay.
So Arcata's right over here, folks.
That's right.
By the bay. It's at the top of the bay.
Yeah. And
home of Cal Poly, formerly known as Humboldt State University.
Right. That brings up an interesting point. Humboldt is 100 miles long and 40 miles wide, but the only people that get cable are stretch from, Arcata down to Fortuna-ish.
Yeah.
So it's less than, it's about a third to 40% of the county, 30 to 40% of the county can get the cable. We actually wind up having a channel on the cable system in Garberville.
Oh, that's cool.
And, Seth Johannesson helps us out, and we backhaul that over microwave to.
So there's a cable system down there. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Used to be a little system. And I believe Jerusha programs a special channel just for them, which is a mix of the government meetings that matter to them, which would be the Board of Soups. They wouldn't necessarily care about any of the city council meetings, but the Board of Soups. And then she'd have some educational programming. She'd have some other things, some public access shows on there as well.
Let's say some nice things about Jerusha.
Oh.
She's so cool.
Hey.
So easy to work with. And shout out to Jerusha.
Yeah. Shout out to Jerusha.
Yeah,
My job actually was to make her job easier.
Did you succeed?
I'd like to think so.
Well, it depends who you ask.
That's right. Yeah. In the old days, we were a file-based workflow, which meant that if we were going to get, everything was based on a file. People would hand us DVDs or VHS tapes. We'd have to convert those to digital files, and then we'd air them. If we wanted a show from NASA TV, we'd have to record that show. We'd have to get that and then put it on the air.
And convert it?
Yeah. And nowadays, the equipment that we use to beam the channels out to Suddenlink, to the head end, that's basically a computer with a fancy card that does 4 channels out in it.
Got it.
And so because streaming is now the norm, all we need is a URL, and we can pull in a URL for a YouTube channel or for a YouTube show or from some other thing that's streamed, and we can wind up capturing it and recording it.
So this show, when I pull it up on my TV on YouTube, it's digital. Nick does a killer job. When I pull it up, when I watch it on cable channel 12 access, it's more not digital. It's probably digital, but it looks muddier just because
it's because
Suddenlink didn't give you the right channels.
Suddenlink hasn't given us high def channels.
Oh, I see.
And in the old days, everything was standard def.
Yeah.
And that was fine.
Yeah.
But now that the producers are using standard def, everything has to be down-resed from high def to standard def.
Interesting.
And sent to Suddenlink.
Are there cable systems that give away high def channels?
Yeah, very few of them. But it's a growing movement because nobody can get parts for the standard def stuff anymore.
You would think they would give them away because they have there's more of them.
There's more of them, but that means there's more chance for them to sell advertising on those.
Yeah.
And so they're...
Yeah. That means they make money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's really interesting. I worked there for 10 years on the sales side.
Okay.
Inserting on, CNN, Fox, ESPN, et cetera. And, media's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, I think at the 10-year point, I looked back and said, what's the biggest thing that's changed? And really the biggest thing that's changed is bandwidth. Yeah. When think back to 2004, as a business owner, you would have been nuts if you bet your business if your data was at the other end of a communications line,
Yeah.
that wouldn't have worked for
Right.
Humboldt County.
Right.
For you to be a business owner and say, "Oh, the internet's down. I can't transact any business today."
Right. I'm dead in the water.
Yeah.
Oh.
And now that's gotten, I mean, we still have outages,
Mhm.
but it's just incredible where now cloud makes way more sense.
Mhm.
The licensing for you as a small business owner, it probably makes more sense for you to store it in the cloud than it does to pay Microsoft licenses, server licensing, IT guy.
We have no files.
managing.
We have no file cabinets.
Right.
Insurance offices used to be
Exactly.
19 file cabinets.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't want to see one in it ever again. So let's talk about the Internet Archive.
Mhm.
But before we do that, how did you get to Humboldt? What's the John story?
Anything that's not nailed down slides off, has a tendency to slide off to the West Coast.
Mhm.
And once it hits the West Coast, it tends to drift northward.
Ah,
So, people light out for, they wind up in LA, they wind up in
Right.
San Francisco, and they do it for a while. It's great to live in a city when you're young.
sure.
And then, you get a couple of kids, and then the hassles become more and more.
The commute to the airport
Yeah.
from downtown San Francisco, forget it.
Right.
My son lived there. He hated it.
Right. It's not that I had kids, but I wound up, well, the story was I was living in San Francisco, and I was in San Francisco because my sister moved there. She started dating a guy from Eureka.
Huh.
And I had driven out in my grandparents', 1973 Chevy Impala. It was
Perfect.
about as long as they made them
Lowrider, man.
before. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. We were raised with those in San Diego.
Okay. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, the Cholo car. Yeah.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. But what happened was next time, about 2 weeks later, I looked at the odometer and there were an extra 6. She asked if she could borrow the car to go up to Eureka. And I said, yeah, sure. Next time I go find the car, it's got an extra 600 miles. I said, where the hell is Eureka?
Where'd you go?
I had the normal San Franciscan's view of geography. Anything named San other than Santa Rosa was south.
Yeah.
And there was Santa Rosa and San Rafael was right across the bridge. But you had no idea of
Another
how
nation.
far. Exactly.
Jefferson, state of Jefferson.
Right. Yep. I started coming up because my sister was dating this person up here, and I got introduced to some folks up here in 1982, I think, was probably the first year I was up here. And, I was making a living in the Bay Area, and things were going well.
Were you doing media stuff?
No, I was a suit. I worked in IT, specifically IT auditing, both first in public accounting and consulting, and then working for the Clorox company as their IT audit manager for 7 years.
Were they based in the city?
They were based in Oakland. They were originally,
Clorox.
they were an Oakland company, the electro-alkaline company, 1911 or something like that.
Big company, though.
Yeah. Yep. Worldwide now. And so my wife was a friend of the person, as Ted and Maureen like to say, we were friends before we were in-laws.
Ah.
So this was somebody in the person that my sister was dating, somebody in his circle, I wound up becoming friends with and more. And she moved down to Oakland in 1988. And we moved back up in 2004.
How about that?
So it was the tech crash had happened in 2000. And in the Bay Area, there was a lot of outsourcing going on. So we looked at it. Tech winter kind of set in. And we said, hey, let's move into the house, the rental house in Humboldt. So we
Came north.
We came north.
Welcome home. Welcome to Humboldt.
Yeah. So I'm a recent arrival. I've only been here 20 years.
Yeah, you're a new guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick, keep an eye on the new guy.
Right.
Yeah, no, I get it. In Ferndale, you'd just be a same day. Yeah. Love you guys in Ferndale. So what do you like? What do you like about living here? Assuming you like it.
The difference between here and the Bay Area is that in the Bay Area, relationships are anonymous or transactional.
Ah.
And up here, they aren't.
Yeah.
And they better not be. You can't treat someone the same way you treat them in the Bay Area because you're going to be seeing them for the next 40 years. You're going to be running into them.
What are you doing here at Safeway again?
Right.
I've seen you 5 times this week.
Right. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
At this Thanksgiving that I would come up to that I've been going to for 42 years now, I was shocked. This guy shows up and 4 of his ex-wives show up as well.
How about that?
And they all get together.
Huh. And they're friends.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Because, because you got to work, because you got to live with these people.
Yeah. You might as well figure it out.
Yeah.
I like it.
So that was, this was in the 80s. And I went back down to Oakland and told my friends, man, this is some sort of, Mormon thing like Big Love. Big Love wasn't around yet, but they do things differently up in the hills.
It's kind of weird up in here.
Right.
Humboldt's a little strange, man.
Yeah. But you really know that you've arrived when you fly back from going back east or wherever home used to be. And for me, it's about Ukiah, north of Ukiah. All of a sudden the tension starts coming out of your shoulders as you get rid of the traffic. Highway 20 splits off and goes over to Lakeville, Lake County.
Yep.
And it's just,
yeah. Or you smell the air.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You could actually smell the air.
Yep.
I thought Medford, we go up there a lot. I thought they had great air. Came home and it's like sunny and 60 and perfect here. And it's, you could smell it. It's beautiful. So, tell you my story about Internet Archive. We'll segue to that. So the Internet Archive, which you know a little bit about, you'll talk about here in a minute. My friend David, we would sit up at his house in Fickle Hill, and he has a deck. It overlooks everything. And we listen to music and play the hi-fi and listen to the Archies and all the... Anyway, he loves Bruce Springsteen. He goes, check this app out. You got to get this app. Hey, David Turner, by the way. And he goes, you got an Internet Archive. It's great. I go, sure, I'm downloading. He goes, you want to hear the show from Bruce Springsteen that I was at in 79 at the Cow Palace? I was at that show, dude. And he did this one song and he hits it. And it's like, what are you talking about? How about the Grateful Dead? Now the role, I mean, sure, they're somewhere. Are they on the archive? So then the mind starts to expand and you go, oh, what about that Neil Young show in San Diego when I was 15 that they recorded live? And on it goes. And so as I've scrolled through, I guess there's, give us in non-techie nerd speak, the common man, what this tool is, what this cloud is. It's inevitably,
it's a digital public library.
It's a library.
It's a library, yeah. And the founder is a books guy primarily. He loves books. He loves text.
Because there's a lot of literature here too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's ever since he graduated from MIT, he's been obsessed with recreating the Library of Alexandria.
Huh.
And so
wow.
He's so he started out doing books, but then there were a bunch of people on college campuses trading bootleg tapes of shows, or not even bootlegs, but soundboard recordings.
Sure. Because,
of course, the labels own the rights to the studio recordings. They don't own the rights to the soundboard recordings.
When you say that, are you referring to the Grateful Dead specifically? Or
no, any band. This is how it works.
And some bands you could plug into their board, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Well, almost all boards, the sound guys are making recordings. They're recording the mix.
Right.
And so these are beautiful. It's not some guy under a poncho in the rain outside.
Cassette player.
Yeah, exactly. The mono.
Terrible.
Yeah. All you can hear is the rain,
right.
because he's
cars going by.
He's bootlegging the show. No, this is great. This is professional equipment mix. So Brewster reached out to these college groups and said, hey, storage for your tape library for free forever. And people go, who is this guy? Oh, he's got to be like a narc.
Free?
Free forever? But that's Brewster. He sees something cool and wants to help. And so,
I like it.
Yeah. So I can't remember how many shows they've got on the live music archive now, but that's kind of just one leg. So there are music enthusiasts know about the live music archive.
Sure.
He's hired a guy that's bills himself as the free-range archivist, and this guy is responsible for the software collection on the Internet Archive. So being able to play the Oregon Trail in a web browser.
Far out.
You can do that now.
Pac-Man in an old
Pac-Man.
format.
Yeah. You can do all these games and arcade consoles. You can run, Firefox web browser now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all been collected and developed by one of the folks at the Internet Archive.
That's valuable, yeah.
Yeah.
Museum stuff.
Yep. And magazines, collections of magazines, collections of kind of everything other than books has been developed by somebody with an interest, an enthusiast.
So how would he recreate the Library of Alexandria? Because were those books, scrolls?
They were scrolls, yeah.
Yeah. So would he scan those and have, how would he?
I think it's just metaphorically.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I speak metaphor. I just didn't catch it.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Well, Sean will insert hey, Sean. Sean will insert, now that we know what metadata is, what's a metaphor?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good one. That's a funny one.
Yeah.
That's high level humor.
Hey, Sean, Scott laughed at your joke.
Did you ever hear the one about the guy that couldn't get a job as a cartographer because he had no sense of humor? That's my dad joke that everybody shakes their head and goes, "What?" So data on shows, television shows. Would television be archived? I would think so.
Actually, the archive they started recording. Actually, during 9/11, they started recording, and they record 125 TV channels 24 hours a day.
Crazy.
And they have an East Coast recording site. They have a West Coast recording site.
How do you find a thing with that big of a brain to store that data? Because it's video data, right?
Yeah. It's there's an interesting thing of when Brewster started the Internet Archive. Brewster Kahle is the founder. Mm-hmm. When he started it, there's a cute interview with him where he's got most of his hair, mm-hmm. and he says, "Yeah, I think it'll take about 2 years to finish this project." He's got one little Solaris computer, uh-huh. and instead of hard drives, he's got a storage array, this tape cartridge storage array, because he knew he needed offline storage to store this much data. And it just kind of has evolved from there.
Then the technology came for lots and lots and lots of data storage.
Yeah.
And compression of data.
Yeah.
Crazy. So if I wanted to write a paper, I could go here and do research.
Absolutely. I've met people on airplanes when I talk about what I do with the Internet Archive. They go, "Oh, I love the Internet Archive.
Right.
My PhD thesis is on Renaissance something or other, and there's 3 copies of this book in the world, and one of them is in the Vatican Library, mm-hmm. and the other one is in Northern Italy, and the third one's been scanned, and it's available on the Internet Archive."
For free.
Yeah, for free. And so they're able to research it. The bad news is they don't get the trips to Italy that they used to. They don't have to book two months in Northern Italy.
Yeah, speaking of somebody that did that, my friend David Reed at Food for People just talked to him a half hour ago. Hey, David. He goes, "David, ask him about the Wayback Machine." "Is that the Wayback Machine?" I go, "Yeah, I got
the Wayback Machine is another
the guy
part
that invented the Internet Archive."
No.
He helps.
Yeah, right.
So what is the Wayback Machine?
So the Wayback Machine is
it's a cartoon allusion to
the
Wayback Machine in was it Peabody and Sherman?
Yeah.
Man, we're old, dude.
That was spelled with a C. There was no K on that. It was Wayback Machine.
The Wayback.
And every year, the Internet Archive throws a public celebration, and they celebrate the birthday of the Internet Archive. It's the third week in October usually. And one year they actually had the Wayback dial set up, and
they recreated it.
Fog machine, and they recreated
from a cartoon.
It. Yeah, from the cartoon.
That's cool.
So let's see, life imitating art.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Peabody and Sherman go back to Roman times in the Wayback Machine.
Exactly.
Book. If you haven't seen it, Google Peabody and Sherman. Was the show called Peabody and Sherman?
It was actually a segment of a show called Fractured Fairy Tales, probably. Mm-hmm. And it was it was a segment in the Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
It was Rocky and Bullwinkle was the umbrella.
Yeah.
There's some real talent. Dudley Do-Right.
Yeah.
And Nell.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm feeling old right now.
Boris and Natasha.
Yeah, that's huge.
Natasha complaining about why is she rowing so much, and Boris turns to her and says, "Well, it's just that your half is bigger than my half." And as a kid, I just cracked up at the idea that halves could be different sizes.
Such an allusion to Russia, the whole thing. It's like so funny. Yeah. So the Internet Archive would have cartoons. And
they have, as a matter of fact,
animation.
Yeah, they have animation. They have cartoons. They have, if you're interested in old commercials.
Oh, boy.
They have old commercials, and I've got about 40 gigabytes of old commercials saved off, because when you look at the early ones, they didn't know what they were doing. Groucho Marx pimping Plymouth automobiles.
Right.
It goes for 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Or cigarettes.
Cigarettes. Yeah. It's really interesting to see kind of
different world.
Yeah, what's going on there in terms of the evolution.
Saturday Night Live, SNL, goes back 50 years now. That certainly so would that have an archive for all those, even though they're NBC proprietary, or?
I'm not sure, because the large media corporations, in the early days, they were cool with it, but as they consolidate and, the worst thing to come out of the 2000s was the concept of intellectual property,
right,
and the idea of locking up culture,
right,
because of course everything builds on what's come before.
Sure.
And the idea that you take fairy tales and you strip mine them and turn them into Disney movies, or you Star Wars, good versus evil. It's like, but with lasers and
now we can protect it intellectually.
Yeah. For too long.
And it's the same darn story from whatever.
Yeah. From myth makers and
musically that's happened too. A lot of people copy songs and tweak them and
sampling. It's
sampling. Yeah.
So there are so the Internet Archive, they wind up doing certain functions, and the rest they depend on people following their own muse and uploading their. The archive isn't the one collecting this. In this case, they just provide a platform for people to upload.
And so you and I could upload this show Saturday afternoon at some point independently.
Right. And you and I just as you and I wind up submitting a show to Access Humboldt, since we live in Humboldt County, we can submit a show, and in Access Humboldt submission guidelines, it says, you have the rights, you're following copyright, and you have the rights to this show to be that you're uploading. And so that would be where people aren't following those guidelines when they're uploading old TV shows.
I see.
So there are some collections of TV shows on the Internet Archive that have been contributed, and they haven't been taken down yet.
Gotcha.
But a lot of the things that have been covered by DVD releases, box sets of DVDs, you won't find. I don't think you'll find Friends on the Internet Archive, for example.
Perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. But some minor things.
Seinfeld, you might. I don't know.
I don't know about that either.
Yeah. So tell me what you do then at CR in Humboldt as your corner of the archive.
So my corner of the archive, I got involved with the Internet Archive because Access Humboldt wanted to wind up getting information out to members and stakeholders in the local community that weren't cable subscribers. Because remember, the whole funding for Access Humboldt comes from, a big chunk of it comes from the cable company.
That's right.
And so as prices have been raised over the years, and as the average age of cable subscribers has increased, no young person has
subscribership's dropped. Right?
Yeah. No young person has a cable.
Any idea what the local subscribership is now?
I don't.
I think we were 19 or 20,000 about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think we're probably
really something
I think we're probably half that now. Approaching half.
The daily was 25,000 homes, and now it's not.
Well, when you have to put rocks in the baggie to get the paper out past the car window.
Some lead.
Right. I mean, hey, I was a paper boy back in the day.
It has to throw.
Right. If it doesn't throw.
Yeah, no, poor print media, but yeah. It's welcome to the 90s, folks.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me about what happens when you're not archiving anymore, and what happens. And I said, are you better off than when you were? Are you better off before I started this project? You've got something now. And I started archiving this because access centers around the country were going out of business because of dropping subscribership, because the incumbent internet service providers or telecom companies, the cable TV companies, got laws passed in about half of the country that said, local communities can't negotiate with us. There's one blanket law on the state level.
Wow.
And nowadays, what they're arguing for is, why should we have to pay franchise fees for cable TV when YouTube doesn't have to pay? And so the same guys that used to have the cable TV things are now just internet providers. And one of the reasons they're doing that is because they don't have to pay the 5 or 6% or whatever.
So
they've also gone from a unionized workforce to a non-unionized workforce. Very little of the internet infrastructure is maintained by union labor these days.
So that means there's less access channels when those guys go bye-bye.
Right. Yeah.
And Comcast, those guys are all huge.
Yep. And the state of Connecticut, there's still access presence in Connecticut. It's almost entirely volunteer.
Wow.
Or the local citizens have decided to tax themselves.
Because it's no longer funded.
Right. Because it's no longer funded through the state level.
Yeah. I watched Optimum take over Suddenlink and just who took over Cox? Who took over?
Let's call it what it is. Altice took over. Yes, and they had a terrible, if Comcast's reputation is sterling compared to Altice's reputation over in Europe and some of the places that they operate.
Let's cut half the workforce, and that feels so good. Let's cut a little more.
Yeah, let's unilaterally renegotiate contracts and expect the other side to accept 35% less.
Well, let's raise rates.
Yeah,
it's like
because hey, my kid has to go to private school.
Yes, somebody's got to fund my JAG.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Right.
What is this? Yeah. So you are, as far as you're an archivist, you're archiving all the content on Access Humboldt, and then some. Is there other things that you find locally that you drive in?
So first of all, I only access on the Access Humboldt submission form. We have, in the old days, we had a thing called, is it okay to put your program on a DVD or CD and distribute it to members? And we have something on there that says okay for web distribution. So if a producer says, if a producer says, no, I don't want my show on the air, on the web, I don't archive it.
Right.
So it's only the stuff that winds up okay for internet distribution that I archive.
Okay.
Now, take Access Humboldt and multiply it by 2,100. And that's what I do. Wow. The Community Media Archive takes 2,100 channels around the country and collects them in one place.
And that's you?
And that's me. Wow. I am the Community Media Archive.
That's remarkable.
So right now we have 2.7 million videos online. They've been viewed or downloaded 173 million times.
Wow.
Now, let's say 90% of that is bots or AI training or whatever. It's not, because these numbers, I've been tracking these numbers for 15 years. It's still, again, it's more exposure than you were getting in your local cable
and it's global
system.
Yeah,
exactly. So people, we had a guy, his show was called Portugal de Amores. Every week he would do 2 hours of the local news in Portuguese. That show was watched
here in Humboldt?
Here in Humboldt, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he had, 300 episodes of this thing.
Who was the guy? Is he up in Arcata?
No, I don't think so. I think, I don't know where he came from, but he did it on VHS tape.
Azores.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And so he would give us 2 tapes a week. And one week we only aired one of his tapes. And he says, I give you 2, you only air 1. You only want 1, I only give you 1. It's like,
good Portuguese.
Jose, the end of the tape was blank. This tape, he would reuse these tapes so much that they would be, and I was showing this at a film festival in Austin, Texas. And the first question I got asked was, how do you get that old VCR filter effect? And I said, that's because they're using old used videotape.
He's a cheap guy. He wore out the tape.
Costco,
pretty funny.
Costco is clearing out.
But it looks really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. To 20-somethings, it looks cool.
That's funny.
So we had, when Costco was clearing out videotapes, we bought him a 12-pack one year for Christmas.
To help him out.
So that he could wind up giving us new.
It's your present.
Right.
I love it. That's a good story. So so help me out here. So you got this system. There are 2,100 of Access Humboldt-like systems that are throughout the nation. Canada?
Yeah, actually, I'm involved. Canada is much smaller, obviously, because of their population, and community television is usually broadcast television in Canada because of the distances involved. Cable doesn't really work except with very close to the U.S. border or in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver.
Not in the tundra of Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. No way. Yeah.
Right. So, but in Canada, I'm working with the national organization there, and they had a federally funded local journalism initiative. And so there are, I think, 50 different media outlets I'm working with in Canada. Again, nonprofit, locally funded. But there, they've decided that from a public policy or a social policy, we want locally produced news. We want locally produced content.
Sure.
And they build it into their system rather than, relying on free market, quote unquote.
Yeah. So one of the guys that I always look at on Channel 12 is the weird preacher guy. I don't even think he's.
I was going to say, which weird preacher guy? I'm sorry.
I love preachers. I'm a preacher. I think he's the Eckankar guy.
Oh.
And this guy's been reran for like decades now.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got that weird, soft, lilting voice, and he's telling you about. I'm not here to rip on Eckankar, but come on, man. It's like, anyway, maybe that's my own bias speaking, but some of the stuff is reran, and not in my lane talking about it really.
Yeah. We have, it's interesting because we generally, if it's nationally syndicated shows, we don't wind up collecting that or re-airing that because, we'll air it on the cable system.
Right.
But we won't wind up, if it's already on the Internet Archive, let's say, or if it's already on the Internet, we aren't going to add another copy of that because
it would be redundant.
There are syndicated religious shows out there, and they're already there.
So this guy's not local, so this is content filler for Jerusha to put something on that channel.
Yes, a representative of a national group can distribute media, and they have to have a local person submit it to the national organization. Can't ask Access Humboldt to air it.
Is it paid in any way?
No.
Is there hush money involved?
No. Access would look very differently if there were.
You'd be driving a Jag instead of your Honda.
Pay to play. And I'm driving my wife's Honda, not my 2007.
The beater.
Right.
Okay. So, but local people could request on behalf of Assemblies of God America to bring a local show on. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Yep. The problem is that most religious organizations, since they've got a funding stream of donations, they've got better studio equipment than Access Humboldt does.
Correct. Yeah.
In the old days, when a camera cost $30,000, a camera on a tripod cost $30,000. You needed 3 of those, and studio space. Nowadays, many of the religious organizations have better. So we've seen a drop off in certain types of programming in the public access space because they don't have to wind up coming through Access Humboldt for the tools.
They can buy it on TBN or something that's going to be national.
Yep.
Yeah. Saw Joel Osteen live in his show in Houston at the old Rockets Arena. Oof, quite the show.
Yeah.
Nice man. Get to meet him afterwards. You could shake his head. And his hair is beautiful. He's got these, he gets a lot of bad press, but he's a pretty nice guy.
Nice.
The Californians, they got to sit up front. It was cool.
All right.
But it was very highly produced. There was equipment like everywhere. It's and you could tell you were on the Ed Sullivan Show. It was something. So let's talk about you and Humboldt for a minute. Let's do the quiz. Are you ready?
There is a bell.
There's a bell.
Let's ring the bell. I'm going.
We'll do it again.
What bell? Because I'm not watching the video. I'm only reading the transcript.
Does it say something?
Yeah. It says
bell ringing.
Yeah.
Bell ringing.
Bell ringing.
Okay. So for all the dollars, ready?
Woo woo.
This is it, baby. The brown butter, Dick Taylor chocolate, Eureka, California. So let's question number 1. John, you get the day off with a friend, whatever, unlimited amount of money to go do your thing within the borders of the map. Now we got to qualify the question. What are you going to go do? It's sunny. It's 70. Go do it. What would your day look like? John Hauser's dream day. I've never asked it this way. I like this.
If it's the winter and it's a sunny day, drive out to Table Bluff, to the South Jetty. I don't know what condition the road's there in.
Probably okay.
It wasn't the last time.
It's pretty pitted up.
Yeah. It was.
Oh, wow.
Large potholes.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, on Table Bluff, looking out over the jetty, that was the hang gliders might be out. That's fun. It's so that's a good part of it. Just hanging out there and watching the way the water the water changes color as the sun moves.
Yeah.
I went to Hawaii. Actually for work. The Maui Access Center brought me out.
Very nice.
For 2 weeks. And
are they right in the main town there?
They're in Kahalui.
Kahalui, yeah.
Yeah.
Where the airport
OGG. Is that they've got a couple of airports on Maui. But,
on Og.
Yeah. But but the problem with Hawaii is, let's see, it's hot. There's tons of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's got water. It's green. Oh, wait. Humboldt has water. It's green.
Mm.
It doesn't have people.
No.
So
also you cannot swim in it.
Right.
Well, you can, but you need a wetsuit that thick.
Yeah. But the point is, one of the things we didn't get to about the Bay Area was that in the Bay Area, it was busy when I was there.
Mm.
And 20 years later, it just seems more frenetic.
Yeah.
And so I used to enjoy the energy. Again, do it while you're young.
Sure.
Everybody should. But,
San Diego's not as much fun anymore.
Right.
It's just freeway grinding. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I love about Humboldt is how you can get out and just enjoy, smell the air, sunshine.
Yep. We live in McKinleyville. Our date night is Huda Point and Scenic Drive there on the way. And
there you go.
It's magical. We pop up in the van and throw out the lawn chairs and they built. We have a secret spot now. Mm-hmm. So it's magic. So you get the refraction of the sun. It's 75 degrees on the cliffs. The sun goes down, it's 32.
Yeah, right.
And you throw all the crap in the van and go home back to McKinleyville.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're very right. So good comparison. So question number 2. So that's your day. You're going to go to Table Bluff.
Yep.
There's a lot of good hiking around there too. Right below it, to the south end, is a really cool new parking area that you could walk all the way down the spit.
Nice.
Pretty close to Centerville. I don't know.
Okay.
The eel transects that in some big way. So, So question number 2. Here comes the bell. Bell ringing. That'll be on the transcript. So, meal of your choice. Where do you go out to eat when you?
Our new favorite place. We live S Street, Henderson, just off of S, between Q and R. And our new favorite place to go is the Diver Bar and Grill in Henderson Center.
Delicious.
And we walk down there for lunch. Mm-hmm. Our neighbor is newly retired, and so sometimes we'll ask her and we'll walk down there, especially when it's nice.
Yeah.
We haven't been back to Brick and Fires, I don't think, since COVID. They were going through some rocky times.
They're back. Delicious.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was another place. Again, we like doing it. The idea of having to get in your car and drive places is, we'd rather walk.
My wife loves to take the bus from McKinleyville to Eureka.
Oh, good.
I'll meet you.
Oh, great for her.
I go, shout out to Joni.
She said, Joni.
Yeah, we did really good in Amsterdam because there's trains all over Netherlands and Belgium, and it's really cool. But I think I'd rather drive my Toyota. Thank you. But that's just me. Question number 3. So I love Diver Bar. It's delicious. They have I think they have linen napkins, if I remember.
They do.
Yeah, which is, not everybody does that anymore. Question number 3. Here comes the bell. And this is for all the chips. Where would you take a hike if you could hike anywhere? Provided you're a hiker. Well, you're a walker.
Yeah. The easiest, the quickest answer is I walk up to Sequoia Park and walk through Sequoia Park.
Ah.
And that's not great compared to some of the hikes. But again, I don't have to get in the car and drive to the place, to the trailhead.
The trade-off's really nice.
Yeah. And working in IT, if I've got a problem, if it might be a technical problem or a coding problem, or it might be a people problem. It might be, oh man, what do I do with these folks? It's like get out of the house, walk through Sequoia Park. Yeah, and it's especially great now that they've turned they've got the gates closed for a lot of it,
right?
Because it used to be that
cars would go through there.
Yeah, cars would go through there.
Yeah,
it's kind of tough to walk and allow cars on that.
When you got the Skywalk too.
That's
really bomb.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I thought it was, man, what a waste of a couple $1,000,000. And then you get up there and you go, oh. Nice.
See what they did?
Yeah.
See what they're doing here.
Right.
Oh, at Christmas, it was lit.
Yes. Yeah. They light it up. And the other thing is that nobody's going to come off a 101. People are coming to the neighborhood all the time asking how to get to the Skywalk. And so they got a little bit off. And so we send them back over to S Street and get them back on the way to the zoo.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was really impressed. We've been on a couple times, but doing it at night during the holidays when it was all lit.
Yeah.
And we did it on this really cool moonlit night where I got some really cool photos of my iPhone. It was gorgeous.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, and I think ultimately it's one of those things that'll draw people to the county.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go, while we're there, let's go do this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to this and that, and we'll go see that.
Yeah.
And it always gets me, Trees of Mystery still is not only are they in business, they're killing it up there.
Exactly.
It's like a dead day and the lot's full of cars in the winter.
Right.
But how does this guy do this? And I got to go back. He's got quite a museum. He's an archivist and a curator of some amazing art and native stuff that I understand they've donated a bit of it back. So hey, winter chicken dinner for you, the brown butter, Dick Taylor.
Thank you.
Good job. So as we kind of wrap it up here, tell me more about with a process. Let's say here's a file from Saskatoon of the SNL guys in the basement,
right? Their
version. So how do what's your typical process of getting that put up on the archive?
Well, what I do, because I wind up going broadly rather than deeply, the first thing I do is I wind up saying, look, the easiest way to get this on the archive is to add it to your YouTube or your Vimeo channel. Because what I did was I figured out that there was a tool that I could use. The first step is the same no matter what video site it's on. I use the same tool to pull it down. And then I wind up creating some scripts. And so that winds up working out pretty well. It works out less well recently because YouTube thinks I'm an AI startup trying to download all this video to train my large language model. So they've banned my IP, and it's kind of this cat and mouse game with YouTube these days.
Interesting.
So it's gotten, just since the beginning of December, it's gotten really difficult compared to, and so now I think what will happen is I'll wind up distributing the upload to the archive where it'll be running my software, but it will be local or regional. So there'll be,
I see,
a Northwest version and a California version, and that way, so that the community gets their stuff up, and they may do a couple of neighboring communities as well.
I see. So you can go to a whole YouTube channel and sweep it.
Yeah,
or you were able to do that.
Yeah, that's what I do. And
why create more work when you can do the whole thing?
Well, and the point was, talking to them, is that this gets you, think of the Community Media Archive as your plan B or your plan C. When the point comes when YouTube says, no, we don't want amateur productions anymore. No, we don't want, we only want people that have 100,000 subscribers or more. We don't want any of this other stuff that we're having to pay for. And that's happened with other video providers in the past, where they were fine with local content, amateur produced content, enthusiast content, and then they needed to make money. And so they wound up banning it. And
Is that Vimeo, or are they more professional?
Vimeo started out that way. They got bought by, I believe, venture capital money. And so they were always way smaller than YouTube. And but they were filmmakers, creatives. They had some better things than YouTube did early on.
That's some early quality, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so they were highly preferred by filmmakers and that sort of thing.
I remember a lot of our commercials at Suddenlink were produced and put up there, and we could pull them down from. Is that gap closed now, or are they pretty?
Yes. Yes, it has closed. You've got 8K on both. These guys shooting drone footage. They've got 20 seconds of drone footage, and they've got 100 gigs up there.
Wow.
It's like, guys, you don't need your drone shoots in 8K. You don't need 8K.
You don't need that
even
definition.
as B-roll.
Yeah.
You don't need that.
Right.
You're not a professional filmmaker.
Right.
But that brings up an interesting point is I would get threatened to be sued by filmmakers, about once every month.
Wow.
Because they found their production up on the Internet Archive. What they had forgotten was that they had allowed the Access Center to air their film.
Therefore, it became public domain.
Well, it's not public domain. It's just that the Access Center that they wound up uploading it to is one of the ones that I scrape into the archive. I sweep everything into the channel. And the filmmaker might have specified to the Access Center that this is not for internet distribution. It went up there anyway. So, hey, guys, we'll take it down.
It's not a big,
Yeah.
relax, take a chill pill.
Right.
Call off the lawyers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. So any parting shots? What else would you tell us? What have we not talked about that we should? I read something here about the Open Library Initiative. I don't know what that particularly is.
The Open Library was one page for every book in existence. And it was talking about commercially produced books. And that's what led to the publishers. Essentially, that's what led to the publisher's suit against the Internet Archive, that the archive's lost, and they've lost on appeal. And I haven't heard if they're appealing to the Supreme Court on that case.
Have you met your founder, though?
Oh,
absolutely. The guy?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Brewster?
Has he ever been up here?
No. Not that I know of.
Where's he live now?
San Francisco.
Oh,
he lives,
city.
walks to work. Yep.
Mecca. Yeah.
Yep.
Mecca of tech.
Right.
Tekka.
Right. Yeah.
See what I did with that, Sean?
Yeah. He wound up, because he can't pay people, $300,000 and $400,000 salaries like a tech company does. What he does with his employees is if you've worked there for 3 years, you get your own 3/4, 2/3 size clay statue made.
Whoa. That's a big thing.
It's creepy. I'll send you a link on this thing. The archivists of the Internet Archive
have a statue.
Yeah. And I met the artist, and she said, yeah, when Brewster came to me, he talked about this. I said, yeah, whatever. And she figured it'd be done in 6 months. And 10 years later, she's still doing these statues. But
it's an heirloom piece for the family.
Well, it lives in the Internet Archive.
Oh, it does.
In the Great Room. And you can actually if you know the people and the personalities, because she asks them to come with something that's important to them. So there's one person who makes jewelry who you can recognize Alexis, because who's like the second or third employee of the Internet Archive, has been there from the beginning.
She was a jeweler.
She's got this great necklace. Guy I know who bikes to work, loves bicycling. He's got his bicycle helmet under his arm, so you can recognize Aaron.
Sure. And then the guy with the bong.
Yeah.
There's that guy, the tech guy.
Yeah.
Do you have a bust created?
I'm not an employee of the Internet Archive. Okay. Yeah.
So this is all volunteer?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. This is it's like, what would you do if you didn't have to get paid for it?
You would do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about my heart attack, but basically after my heart attack 9 years ago.
Tell us about the heart attack.
Okay. Well,
9 years ago.
January 19th, 2016, I wound up.
Wow,
that felt funny. And my wife went off to work, and I realized an hour had gone past, and I didn't know, it's like, gee, I'm sweating. Yeah. I was so lucky. I presented with all the classic symptoms. Arm pain, jaw pain.
Did you have the elephant on the chest pain?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Called 911. And
I heard that's the one. When you have the elephant, then you're there.
Yeah. Called, I'd taken some aspirin or whatever.
You were here 9 years. You were
Yes, yeah. I live on Henderson Street.
Yeah, could walk
half a mile. Well,
walk to St. Joe's.
Yeah.
Today you could.
Yeah. Through the gulch. Yeah.
Huh.
But I told the thing. I said, "Look, the door's open. I got my insurance card on my chest.
I'm ready to go.
Come get me." And she said, "Okay, it's like, I could hear through her headset the ambulance siren. She was attached to the EMTs. I could hear them through the front door. So
Here they come.
Yeah. I actually flatlined there.
Whoa.
And so they brought me back.
Was there white light or anything?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got it. That's a whole nother podcast.
Oh, you saw the white? Oh, you saw the white light.
Saw the white light. Yeah.
Was God in there somewhere?
No, the old dude with the white, the long beard. No, he wasn't. He wasn't in there.
Colonel Sanders was not.
But I was up. It was out of body, and next day the cardiologist comes in, and he's got a stack of 8.5 by 11s. I said, "You don't have to show me those. Those were on the overhead." He goes, "You're not supposed to remember that.
Huh?
We gave you Versed which affects it's anesthesia that affects your short-term memory.
It's supposed to erase things.
Yeah, there's these 42-inch monitors that they've got above the table in the cardiac cath lab.
How about that?
Where yeah.
So you were aware.
I was aware. Yeah.
Good story.
Yeah.
Glad you're still with us.
Well, exactly. I am too. And so now, every day's a gift. And what would you do if you didn't have to?
Brings up a story. So my wife's had heart issues. We just got back from UCSF. So we're getting that addressed. But what would you do if you loved it? I have a friend that plays pickleball Mark up in Medford.
Okay.
He's super old. He might be 70. So
I'm knocking on the door.
Yeah. So
this year.
We're talking pickleball, and he goes, "Yeah, my friend plays baseball." And he goes, "Hey," "it cost me $10 to travel with the team. Oh no, $10,000 a year."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "I don't love it." And he looked at Mark, and Mark looked at him in his epiphany moment, and he goes, "Why are we doing things we don't love?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Scott, if you love it, go do it."
Yep.
If you love archiving, do it. And I kind of think of us as a little bit of an archivy venture here for sure.
You guys.
Peter Starr said, "Hey, you're an archivist of personalities in Humboldt."
Yeah. It's a really impressive achievement that you guys have got, 65, 66 of these things done.
Yeah, could have did it without Nick and
they're getting better, Nick.
Yeah,
and Scott
and Nick's triple me. So I was always going to give the chops to the master. I'm just the Padawan learner here.
Well, what's the name of your podcast, Nick?
It's called Growing Pains.
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the great part is, I believe the Lost Coast Outpost has an elsewhere page where they point to local podcasts.
Yes.
And I think both of you guys are listed in that.
Yeah, we are. Yep.
And it's up
Hank
to date.
Sims has figured out how to wire the internet up.
Yep.
Have you met Hank?
I might have met Hank. I don't know.
You'll meet him. We'll have him as a guest here and coming right up.
Okay.
Hear that, Hank?
Okay, Hank.
Yeah, Hank, your pressure's on, bud. We pay really well. Chocolate.
Right.
Well, what a delight, man. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for the education, and love to chat some more about that for sure. Beyond that, any sort of plug you want to give to the archive? How do we get a hold of you? How do we donate money, cash, gold, bullion?
You can donate directly to the Internet Archive. I think it's archive.org /donate, I think is how they accept donations.
Okay.
And you can donate to Access Humboldt.
Easy to find.
Yeah.
Google it, man. Yep. Okay, cool. Donate out there. Hey, want to thank everybody. Scott Hammond, 100% Humboldt. Find us, subscribe to us, like us, make comments on nice ones on all the podcast platforms and YouTube. Turns out we're on YouTube. I just found that out. And love you to subscribe. And thanks to Dick Taylor Chocolate and all the great guests, including you, John. And we'll talk real soon. And thanks again for being here.
Thanks, Scott. Stay curious.
Yes, sir. Thanks.